When you were writing Baby Steps, how confident were you that you were going to get the movie made?
Again, I wasn't really focusing on not getting it made. I knew I was, again, I keep using this metaphor, not a metaphor, but like a reference. Like you're a fool. You just keep walking and marching foolishly without like thinking about what's gonna happen. You just keep marching. I just knew that it would be made one day. There were times where I almost gave up, but I didn't. Having that faith, that foolish faith, for some reason just kept you going. I remember one time after a year of fundraising, casting, we were going nowhere. One of the producers I was working with left the project. She spent a year with me and we were going nowhere. So even after having raised about like $300,000 of money, she left the project. And I was like, oh, what do I do now? I was swimming and I was like, should I give up after spending 3 years writing and then 1 year fundraising? Do I give up and do something else, or do I continue? And I continued. And that evening, I talked to one of the actors, the actress that played the mother character. And that's when she introduced me to her longtime collaborator of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And because of that, she picked it up and the film got made. So I guess I was just like, not getting the film made was never an option. And you just have to be a fool. Just keep going. Be a fool.
You said there were 2 times you almost gave up. Are you able to share the other time?
That was a time.
Oh, it was one time. Okay,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty devastating.
Well, I mean, like there were so many times like I almost gave up because I went through a year of casting the lead character with the A-list names, but every time someone gives a pass, oh, it's a pass, or whatever. A little bit of you start questioning it. But then you just have to be a fool and just don't think about it and just keep marching foolishly. Foolish faith, I like to call it.
What was it about this film that you had to make it?
It is so personal, and it was a dialogue. If I didn't make this movie, my mother would never be able to know how I feel about us. Again, I make this movie to connect with my mother. There are so many things I could not tell her in person. Something about the Asian culture that stops you from communicating person to person with emotional stuff. We don't tell each other, I love you. We express our ideas through actions. And I express my ideas of frustration or struggles, conflicts through my writing. So I really wanted to make this movie so my mother could see the film. My mother could read the screenplay and see the finished product out on the screen and understand how I felt. And so the film, in a way, connected us emotionally. And we went through this journey together, and this art really helped bridge our distance. So on a personal level, that was a very important reason for me to get the movie made, having invested so much of my time on the project.
And it's also about an interracial couple too. It's not just same-sex marriage. It's an interracial relationship as well. So you're really challenging.
There's so many. I mean, like one of the things that screenwriters think about is what are this like multiple levels of conflict in this movie. There's conflict between mother and son, a gay son, and a mother who's shameful about having a gay son. There's conflict between two different cultures. The mother character is not very accepting of the interracial relationship. There's conflict of global conflict. The couple is like has no money. How can they possibly have a baby the traditional way? The surrogacy in the US will cost like $150,000.
Oh.
But going through this global journey somewhere else is much cheaper. So there's economic class conflict. There's international conflict. There's a subplot, sub-character, an Indonesian housekeeper in Taipei. So there's class conflict in this subplot as well. So there's just like many different levels of conflict that screenwriters strive to create because that's what makes a story interesting and compelling, right? Conflict.
Right. Which part was more of a hot button, the interracial or the same sex?
I think it's the same sex marriage, not the marriage necessarily, but the coming to terms with having a gay son, having a gay member of a family, being open about it. It's very easy for Taiwanese culture, parents to just not talk about the gay aspect of your child's life. Oh. Yeah, face is very important. Just having a face, oh yeah, my son is doing well. He's a filmmaker. He went to great school, but not about the gay aspect of it. So that was definitely the major conflict of the story. The not being able to deal with the gay aspect of the son's life.
So I know being in the Bay Area, and I know you were there for 4 years or whatever, and me having basically grown up there, I saw so many interracial relationships. It seems like it's pretty embraced there. I found it wasn't embraced as much in LA. Do you notice that? I realize it's a pretty strong statement, but I really see that the Bay Area was very open to interracial, not just same-sex couples, obviously, but interracial.
I think there's a renaissance in reclaiming pride for our own culture. Growing up in America, all the stuff you see on the media, what's beautiful? White is beautiful. I've never seen images of myself on a screen or prints or media. I've never seen a beautiful Asian man. So a lot of times you see a lot of interracial couple, Asian, white, black, white, Hispanic, white. It's a manifestation of what is beauty, and it's because of the media.
Sure.
But right now, I think there's people of color, we are reclaiming our own beauty. We see more images of ourselves in the media. So I'm dating an Asian American man. Whereas before I was dating white guys. So maybe that's part of it. I'm not sure, but definitely there's a renaissance in our own pride, our own culture, and we're embracing that aspect that has been missing in our Asian American culture.
Yeah, I feel like millennials have been instrumental in that and Gen Z, whereas maybe Generation X wasn't as much, and then baby boomers, but I feel like the newer generations have been much more open to choosing a different path, whatever that is.
I mean, I think it's so diverse that diversity, you see so many different images now on TV, on film. It definitely feels more inclusive. So I definitely see myself on the screen now, more representation now. So I think younger generation, they don't even think about what we think about.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah, it's a given that everybody's everywhere.
Sure. And different, and also too, within the LGBT community, LGBTQ community. I think they added the Q recently, right? It wasn't always that.
Right.
What is the reason for that? I'm curious. What's the queer designation versus...
I think there's the idea of, there's so many different, again, to the idea of the community is not monolithic. Less LGBTQ, it sort of encompasses everything else that's not, there's gender non-binary, there's transgender, and within the community, transgender community, there's diversity. There are people that are questioning, we're not sure. So it encompasses everything else.
Interesting.
That are marginalized.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.